When your son is 15 years old, standing 6 foot tall, looking you directly in your eyes, are you going to want him to be afraid of you because of your hands or respect you because of your words?
I've worked too hard for you to throw it all away. Look at me when I'm talking to you.
Physical discipline might bring compliance, but it doesn't bring competency. So they're stopping doing whatever they're doing because they're afraid, but they don't know why they're getting in trouble. They're not understanding the reason for why they're getting in trouble. They're not learning from what's happening. They're just stopping because they're afraid. You're making them stop because they're afraid. They're getting a spanking, they're getting a whooping, whatever you want to call it, but they're not learning anything from it. Losing leverage. You lose leverage, obviously, as that child gets bigger. Like I said in the beginning, when your son is 6 feet tall and is standing over you or looking you directly in your eyes, spanking ain't going to be the same. You might be the one end up getting hurt in those situations. So you lose your leverage as the child gets older, and you lose their respect because as they get older, you should be able to talk to them about what they're doing instead of hitting on them or beating on them, whatever you want to call it. As they get older, you should be able to talk to them. Hell, at 2 and 3 years old, 1 year old, you should be able to tell them, hey, pick that up, put that back over there. That's not how we do things. So as a child gets older, spanking, whooping, whatever you want to call it, you lose your leverage and you lose their respect. Let me ask you this question. Might sound crazy, but if your manager at work hits you every time you did something wrong, would that make you respect them more? Or would that just make you want to learn how to hide things better? And that's the same thing that's going on at home. And also, you're not teaching them what's going to happen in the real world. When they get a job, their manager ain't going to bring them in the office and take off their belt and start whooping them. If this person, you need to call the police on this person. Okay. This is not 1908 and that ain't going on no more, but that's not going on. So that's not what's going to happen when they get in the real world. They're going to be expected to perform a task. And if they don't do it, they're going to get disciplined, written up, told you must do better. But they're going to be talked to. Now, a lot of parents do the opposite. They don't spank or they don't talk to their kids. So when someone talks to their children forcefully, they don't know how to handle that either. And you might be even worse than the parent who does the physical discipline because you don't do anything. That's a whole nother podcast. When you spank a child or anytime you're in some type of physical altercation, you're in the fight or flight mode. A person's not learning anything during that period. So the brain shuts down. You just trying to survive. So if you were trying to teach somebody something and when you're spanking them, you're not teaching them anything. They're not learning anything right then because they're just trying to survive. They're just saying whatever you saying. You know, most parents, do you hear what I'm saying? You know, you going to listen out. They just saying whatever to get out of that situation. Think about what I'm saying. Just remember as a kid when you got spankings or you got whoopings or whatever, was you really learning anything? You just was learning, hey, not to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to get caught for that no more. But you're not learning nothing. So when you spanking somebody, all logic is out the window. They just trying to get through that spanking. Spanking or whooping just strengthens the cycle of that type of thing happens on with their children. So it just brings on aggression and mental health issues in the child you're doing that to. I just told you're not getting through to them. They're not listening. And later on in life, you're affecting them negatively also. So it's really detrimental to what you're trying to do. If you're the parent, the father, you're a teacher. So if you're trying to teach this child something, not to do what it's doing and to do the right thing, spanking really doesn't help you with that. And when you tell your children to use their words, not their hands, when they're frustrated or when they're upset or when they're in some type of disagreement, but when you get frustrated and upset, you use yours, what are you? A hypocrite. That's what you are. That's what you are, and that's what they're thinking. That's what they're thinking. As they get older, that's what they're thinking. Like, well, you tell me not to do it, but every time you get mad at me or I do something wrong, you bring out the belt, the paddle, whatever, the hand, whatever, and you get physical with me. You look and sound like a hypocrite, and that's what you are, basically. No, not basically. That's what you are, a fucking hypocrite. Now let's get down to the strategy, what we should do in place of spanking. Start teaching, refrain discipline, and start using skill building exercises. So if they spill the milk, they spill the Kool-Aid, make them wipe it up. Make them get it up. Don't spank them and then make them get it up. No, tell them, show them how to get it up. I heard this thing and I was reading this book and it was what all good teachers do. And that's what you are as a father. You're a teacher. It said, you cannot correct someone and not show them how to do it properly. Just telling someone they did something wrong and not showing them how to correct it isn't teaching them anything, isn't the proper way to teach someone how to do anything. So if you just spank somebody and then show them what they did wrong, it's not really helping. But if you just correct somebody, if you just that type of parent, oh, you did this, that wrong, you did that wrong, and you never show them how to correct those things, you're not doing anything. You're just being an asshole, really. So when you want to correct somebody, when you're trying to correct your child, you need to show them what they done wrong and then show them the proper way to do it. But then also don't act like you have never made mistakes. Just like I said, no one's going to listen to you if you don't think you care about them. So you want connection before correction. You want to empathize with them. You want to sympathize. Yeah, I made mistakes like that too. I made mistakes like that before. Even tell them a time you made a mistake and then correct them. If they feel like they're the loser, they're the big dummy, they're the person who always makes mistakes, and you never made mistakes, you're going to be falling on deaf ears after a while because this child is going to think all they do is make mistakes and all you do is correct them. You want to be proactive instead of reactive. Spanking is reactive. You know it is. You can't say it isn't. You see them doing something you don't like, you get frustrated and you spank them. You want to be proactive. You see things that you don't like. You see things going on. You got to stop them. You got to nip them in the bud, as the old folks would say. So spanking is reactive. It's reactive. You lose control. You get frustrated and you start to spank. Be proactive. Be in the game. Be in the game. Be in the game. Like coaches will say, be in the game. Even when you on the bench, be in the game. So that's what I mean by being proactive. So that was this episode of the Raising Carter podcast, sponsored by the Build Better Dads coaching program and YouTube page. And I'm going to ask you a question. What strategies do you use besides spanking? What things do you use to discipline your son, your daughter, besides spanking? And if you still spank or whoop your children, why do you do it? Comment strategies down in the comment section and list what you use besides yelling or spanking. What ways do you discipline your son or your daughter that don't have to do with you yelling or spanking? I know we all get frustrated sometimes, and I know we're not 100%. I'm not 100% all the time. I'm not the best at this all the time, but just reading and doing research and just being a dad, knowing if you really want to raise the best children, you gotta be the best father you can be, and spanking and yelling really isn't it. So that was this episode of the Raising Carter podcast. Whether you're watching or listening to this, I'm out of here. Peace.
You know that wasn't right. I made mistakes too when I was your age, but you have to listen. We do it this way from now on.
Okay, Dad.